Welcome everyone joining, and start looking at all the faces that are joining us from around the world. Wonderful. Over 60 people signed up, possibly even more today. Wow, I'm really glad to see you all. Share your face as often as you want. I will be looking, and other people can see that we're not alone, and that we're all here because we're connected to the body, and we're committed to the body, and that we're committed to allowing this to continue to be our source of truth and our source of resilience and our source. And I have a lovely dog here in the apartment. I'll introduce you because she's saying hello. And she usually, when I'm on Zoom, is very quiet, but she's very excited. So if you hear a dog, she is happy she's fed, and you're here with us. So sit down, sit. I love you. Her name is Luna. So I know so many of you just wave hello, Kirill. Oh my God, I just left. Eugene and people I don't, Vladimir. I just left Russia after 2 months, starting a program. I will be going to Israel. I'm right now in America, and it is so good to have you all. So here we are. Sue Lother. Oh my God. I could do this all morning. So I'm going to pin myself, and let's start. So I'm Christine Cole, and I'm the director of somatic body training. I'm a long time student since the 83 with Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen and other beautiful teachers of body mind centering. And I have followed Bonnie and learned embryonic breathing and the embryonic process, and became a specialist in it. So in embryonic breathing, I will both present you and offer a practice. So you can sit down now. Sit. It's okay. Sit. Sit. Yeah. Sit. So for everyone else here, I will be bringing you back to the embryo, and you're not liking this. I'll give you another few minutes, and then I'll let her loose and see what happens. So let's descend into our body, and even further than that, let's suspend ourselves for a moment, hanging in the amnion, surrounded by fluids. And for a moment, with your now human breath, that's what I'd like you to breathe air into your lungs. But I'd like you to know that around your lungs is not air, or there's support around your lungs. That your lungs are situated in the organs, in the ribs, that they are contained and supported and surrounded. Okay. So to protect the dog, I am moving to a space that is not as beautiful, but will provide more peace. And I will be warm with you. Please shake. Please do what you need to do to arrive. I assume all of you have experience in your bodies, if not through life, then through amazing dances. There are amazing dancers here, amazing somatic people here. And so just take a moment in this time, in this moment, in this time in the world to also allow the quaking, allow the shivering, allow the feelings, allow the truth of this moment to exist in your body for real. No judgment. We are always in movement, if in flow of fluids, if in flow of emotions. And today we descend back down to the embryo that has done it all. It's transformed itself from one cell to many cells, and in there it embedded itself into the endometrium of the mother's womb. So not into the womb itself, but into this prepared mana, and it arrives there. And from there it grows voraciously, and it transforms. And unlike any building that we build, unlike any other structure or project that we create, where we create a structure, then we fill it, an embryo is alive in this deconstruction and reconstruction process always. And it is the cells that are communicating. So we're sitting there. When we go to embryonic breathing, we go to all that. And I will just choose a few things today. Today you will arrive at the moment in embryonic process where you have a trophoblast, where you have basically created cells around you that are connecting with the mother's endometrium, with the mother's blood, filtering that. And it is farther and farther away from you until it is the placenta. But for now, we're in that place as we're sitting, where we are sitting in the center of our own created space, and where we have different fluids around us protecting us. And we have the cells of us that have become the trophoblast very actively involved in harvesting the mother's blood and fat and protein and everything it gave us to the endometrium. But so that we, far away from that, as the embryo becoming, can be supported, contained, and not necessarily in that noise, that different action. We are in our action of becoming. So to help us mere humans, I'm going to say that in order to have the embryonic flesh and extension available to us, that for now, I want you to just reach around, let your grown-up human kidneys. Imagine that they're not behind you, they're not pulling up, but they actually can reach around your center. They can reach around and actually hug. They're not behind your spine, they're actually next to your spine. And that they have movement, and that they arrive and they move in now within the embryonic flexion and extension. They have their own adult body motility. So just bring your Western body kidneys into motion, either together, around, to feel this, what we call lateral flexion part of the head tail flexion of the embryo. And let the kidneys separate from the adrenals, they're not attached. They lay underneath them like beautiful seas. It is completely fine to move as much or as little as you want to experience this embryonic flexion and extension. You may want to just feel it, let it pervade you, let it go through all your tissues, all your fluids. And know that you are this tiny developing embryo within a growing amniotic sac with a chorionic sac and eventually a satellite placenta, right now possibly still one all around you. And I think in the move I forgot my glasses, so someone could tell me when we're at 12:25. Novi, thank you. So breathing your earth in gravity in the air breath for a moment. But now surrounding that embryo, that growing embryo, with not only the layers around it, but the layer of the mother, the layer of the family, the layer of the village, the country, and the world. accepting your breath, accepting your life, accepting what is, Bonnie said this beautifully in her videos on embryonic breathing, that you accept your process. As we descend into embryonic breath, which might challenge your sense of, am I getting enough air or not? In the embryo, as the embryo is taking it in the yolk as nutrition, it also starts to pull in its content and create the organs. So you may take the sense of something entering just above your navel and spreading into you as you continue a sort of a fluid, like it's like it's not just lateral and it's not just sagittal flexion, but it's really it's a spiral flexion. It's a navel flexion. It's a navel, but it has a little bit of a side to it. So it's your connection to right now the yolk coming in, and it's bringing it in, and it's populating and becoming and growing your digestive tract. And it creates a membrane around it. So as we're very early, we have this one sac. We don't have a head yet. We don't have even a pelvis yet. That's still growing. We have one sac, and as the mouth grows and as the anus grows and as the pelvis comes around, you can start bringing your pelvis under. You can start maybe imagining and bringing the growth of the nervous system and the folding of the heavy head, big head. But underneath that you have a spiral flexion. And as this embryo develops and creates the diaphragm, it must keep a pathway through for the esophagus for things like the spine, the nerves, grand blood vessels. And so it finds this near the spine, and it also has what we call the aploic pathway. I will call it passageway, because this is the passageway that we're breathing through, because we are reconnecting to this whole original inner organ container membrane. As it becomes more complex, because the organs grow quicker than the body, for a moment the organ, the intestine, come out, and then they loop when they come back in. And in that looping, the sac also gets drawn into a loop. And this is the area of the lesser omentum where we're now going to breathe through. I'm going to try to see the time. See. 10 more minutes or think we'll go 15 more minutes maybe. When I switch from air breathing to this embryonic breath, I will tell you one way I do it. And one way is that it's like I'm pulling a silver thread. I'm pulling a silver thread through my nostrils, silver thread down into this area, into the sac, and a silver thread because it's light. There's no resistance. It just finds its way under, behind the liver, behind the stomach. It can find its way through the membranes from the upper thoracic body to the lower abdominal area. So as you just start to shift your breath, and I will call it a gentle pulling of a silver thread right now. This lengthens time. It allows for our embodiment to search for a smaller pathway with less resistance. And from there, I let the silver threads find their own way through the gut in the direction of the pelvic floor. So I'm going to help you as you breathe this gentle breath in, mostly as a sensation of widening the sac and drawing in this direction of embryonic breath towards this ploic pathway. And here I feel that I've had to learn. I'll stay with you there. I've had to learn from others and learn for myself that that it is possible to go through, that it is possible to return to that state where we still had access to the transformational energy, the pathway, when we were still in the high of embryo, when we were still so deeply connected to all the cells communicating and changing. So I want to help you in that moment We're near our diaphragm. We can catch, we can worry about death. We can worry about existence. It is all there in that moment where we transition back to where all was possible because we were in connection. All of our cells were speaking. All of our cells were swimming. All of our cells were connecting to our DNA. All of our cells were in each moment keeping this embryo alive as we're transforming magnificently. So we're reconnecting to that. And we're allowing this breath to descend as we did easily in these early weeks of embryology. I'm sorry you can't see my lower body here. Let's try something. So that are you willing to allow yourself to go back to that moment where you had this whole body connection, where the breath was still in the ocean, where you get to pull down the breath through this eploic pathway. I want to call it, it's a pathway, and let your own personal journey happen through the gut, through the mesentery walls, through the anything you know about fascia, anything you know, following that down. The embryonic breath is a longer breath cycle. Please let your natural breath come back. Let your movement come in whenever you feel like it. And I have to admit, I'm relying on the fact that most of you either have done this or you've watched some of my other videos. But I will add another dimension that helps me in this embryonic breath. This breath before air, this breath in the embryo. And if you know me, I'm teaching you through the sound of my voice and through the state I'm in as I'm putting myself in, shifting into the embryonic breath state. To find my orientation for this axis that lays behind the embryonic breath, behind the organs, I want you to find the place where your hard palate and soft palate meet with your tongue. And I want you to know that from there, in the front of the spine, all the way down to your perineal body, which lays in the pelvic floor, and it is at the crossing of the pelvic muscles. It is in front of the anus, either under the penis or behind the vagina, in that trapeze of the pelvic floor. And it is a connection that is made from the nada cord. A very early first kind of divining rod of what is left and right and up and down. And I'm bringing this in now because I sometimes, after breathing and searching for the way down, like where do I go? I want you to know that there is a hormonal body, a perineal body that sits in the pelvic floor. And when I'm searching for the direction, I utilize this notochordal connection, the soft front of the soft spine, to orient and coax my breath down into my groin. You don't have to keep your tongue there. You can just put this behind and under your support of every once in a while pulling a thread in and allowing it to spread down into your abdomen, which is where my Chinese masters tell me an embryo has access to the alchemy of qi. It has access down there, and I feel through the embryonic breath, we get to the alchemy, what they call the alchemy of qi, and that it is not just the energy that arrives down there, it is the transformation of energy. And that's why big words are said: reincarnation, healing. So just be your human self today. Be with what you need to do. If you start breathing and crying, then that is what you need to do now. If you just are like, I just need to sit and be easy with myself, that is what you need to do today. This is me in a 15-year process. I've gone through panic. I've gone through not being able to do it. I've been able to gracefully be in the room with it and have an inkling. I'm giving you an inkling, and be nice to yourself. So this alchemy is beautiful because we started with the kidneys and now we're in the breast. And this qi supports the lungs in Chinese medicine. So it's not the breath. We don't breathe to give qi to the lungs. We transform this energy from the kidneys and now through this embryological breathing. And that gives our body. So I'm not prepared for this room and in a good position to see my body, but this prepares the this process from kidneys, embryological breathing, to lungs. Now I'd like you to allow yourself to sometimes gently breathe or to breathe. And that is the correct placement for our now air breath. It is not the effort of breathing. So it is from here, allow your breath to come back. And from this alchemy and from the lungs in Chinese medicine, it goes to the blood marrow. So allow yourself to go inside the blood. So the blood that was out all around us, that we harvested from the mother, it becomes a placenta. We grow our blood vessels, and then the blood vessels make their way into the bones. So right now, just join in with this process of the blood going into your bones and settling in there to create new blood vessels, to create your immune system. And from that place, the desire for breath, for oxygen comes to your lungs. So we're switching out of that deep state of embryonic breathing. We're going back from here, placing the lungs within this state. We're allowing the chi that is created in the embryonic breathing to support the lungs. And we're allowing our blood to get into our bones and the marrow to call the breath, to call the desire for oxygen. So take a moment to thank your body, to just say goodbye to the depths of embryonic breathing, and to come back to the here and now in your space. To allow the long tide of this embryonic breathing to mix with your blood rhythms and your breath rhythms. And to be kind to yourself in however much you experienced or didn't or were lost. We do not approach a powerful place with no response. Our body will respond. And so just, I'll welcome you back again. Just keep coming back. We have this wonderful group all over the world: Israel, Russia, America, Spain. I don't even know where. You don't have to come out and see everyone yet, but you can include them from your embryonic point of view of other cells, other beings. Thank you for coming. I will take a look around, and I will also ask you to put in the chat maybe your name, where you're from, and one part of your experience. Thank you. And then we'll move on. I'll find my glasses. I want to say hi to everybody. Hi, Anna. Hi, Abuba. Hi, Sue. Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, Linda. I'm sorry I'm breaking up. So it is time for questions. We have almost 20 minutes for that. Are you hearing me? Okay. Ah, no need to lung breathe. We're now done with that, Laura Lee. So you can actually raise your hand, or you can computer raise your hand and speak. Any questions? You can also read the chat like I am. Space and silence, beautiful. I want to apologize for the dog situation. I wanted to start a little more with you. But here I am now. Donna! And I do hope that you, if you have more interest in this, watch the videos. And because of this great response, we are thinking of doing, I'm thinking of doing it for a few more Wednesdays, 3 more Wednesdays, so that we can stop by in this way, because I do it anyway. So, and each time I can teach you a little part differently, another part. There was a hand up, a question. How does it work? Yes. Who is that? Yeah. Grounding. Novi, are there a few questions that you've seen? I like a bunch of questions.
Yes, from Gulshat. Could you please share or comment how does it work?
And any others too, just so I get a sense of the gestalt of questions.
Yeah. Hi guys, you can also post your questions in our chat box. Or yeah, you can raise your hand so that we can unmute you if you have any discussions.
I think I'd like to hear a voice just so I don't feel so alone. Is anyone interested in saying hi and how it felt to them? Hi, Donna.
Hi.
Hi. How was it for you?
Really good. I had so many different impressions. I wasn't sure what to say. Should I just say? Okay. So it was interesting. I could see when I got into efforting with my outer breath, I really was aware of like the soles of my feet trying to lift and grip. I started having these images of silver threads like roots of trees, and that started getting my mind going to like the connection to my pelvic floor. And I also just felt this quality of how the breath could be so soft that it doesn't disturb the stillness. I felt very still, very meditative.
Mm.
So I don't know how to articulate these things, or if you want to.
Beautiful. Still, this great stillness in the middle of all this. It's amazing to me that we're feeling this great stillness of the embryonic breath, because when I study the embryo, it is like, it's like
Yeah.
incredibly loud transformation, but maybe the buzz itself is, we're in the ocean still in an embryo.
Yeah. I don't know. So, just a few impressions.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome, hon. Good to see you.
Christine,
Hi, Lorelei.
hi, thank you. I really felt the following the membranes down the pylorus and all of the spin in the omentum, and it felt like it dispersed through those, like out through the membranes. And it's not a very verbal place, so.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question. That's okay. Hi. I started doing this, I think, years ago. It happened very spontaneously, and I very often feel like the inhale is just completely an airless thing that confused me for a very long time, and there's just some expansion happening. But then the exhale doesn't have that same airless silver thread kind of quality to it. Could you say something about that?
Do you have an out breath?
Maybe I try to make one. I don't really know what's happening there. Yeah.
I honestly think that's the edge of my exploration. I'm like, what happens then? And because I'm researching this also, like, what is the out breath? Or are we in embryonic breathing? Is it, because is that the model of air in and out? Whereas the model of embryonic flow is possibly the air coming in through the blood and then leaving, but also the swallowing of the amnion through the body. But also, I'm still exploring this, so I love it. That's why
Oh, that's great.
I go to the transformation, then the alchemy, and then it alchemizes. So although I humanly need to breathe out, it's not, yes, let's explore this, Ricky.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll do that. That's really great because I think I have both an expectation for
Yeah.
the expansion to come down and also for some air. And I noticed that the airless inhale creates this floating relaxation, but then my own activity around the exhale doesn't. So that's
Yeah.
really great. I'll explore that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have watched Bonnie's videos very carefully and done my own research and not heard about it. So it's mostly that she talks about the expanding of the sac, and then I assume the sac then gets smaller, but it's not necessarily an out breath. So yes, how does it work? This is our process. I think the practice of embryonic breathing is, I've been led into it in a somatic way with certain goalposts, like the lesser omentum, the breathing through the uploic pathway, and then I've added in my other support. I think we need support around us of fluid. We need to be back in the ocean of the notochord. But how it works is the practice. Like, I think we're going towards a goal of being reborn, but we are in the embryo in water. We are, I mean, there's simple things. We're in the ocean, we're in the womb. We are not breathing air, and we are in a moment of full on cooperative engagement of transformation. And that is the breath that then the Chinese, I think, would say is alchemy. So I love that as somatic body practitioners, we don't need to imagine it. For us, the embryo is real, and for I right now I feel like I'm layering all the embryonic knowledge into this breath, and it's been very exciting. And yeah. The question of breathing. Yeah, Eugene, speak to us.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
I was amazed how precise was like this point with Natahort. And so I'm always like a bit try to find my pelvic floor, kind of like this. And when you said about Natahort, so this point really appeared. And the breath, the silver thread, found this path to this point. And that was really fascinating. And like I'm sitting here talking to you, and I still feeling this point and Natahort like as a separate like space inside me. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh. So as you all know me, I don't use metaphors or images very often, but I find this one, it's not about the silver thread, it's about how it changes us, how it changes our effort, how it changes our impulse, how it changes the beginning of our, how we begin, how we follow through, the timing. And if you join me in the next weeks, I will have other ways that I would express it. But this is a really nice one for me. The Chinese have a channel in the back and a channel in the front, and they meet exactly there, exactly in those two places where when I study with Bonnie says the notochord eventually connects there. And so it was a wonderful bringing together of the BMC work and Chinese medicine. And so the Chinese have this circle breath that goes up the front of the body or up the back and connects up in here, and then connects down through the pelvic floor. And I find that, and eventually those two connect through, actually through the lower dantian. That's why it's called dantian breathing. And that's where the alchemy is created. So I find that the notochord holding an important healing energy in there to reconnect to it. Breathing, and someone said breathe into the bones. I mean, as we came out of such a deep state, it's nice to come back to your bones, and it's nice to come back to your bones to know, I think it's fascinating that at some point the blood decides, the blood was made everywhere and or in certain places outside of us, around us, and in the yolk, and when the yolk disappears, the blood needed a new place to go, so it kind of drills holes into the growing bones and goes in there. So as somatic body practitioners, we can actually kind of follow that embryologically and wiggle our way into these growing bones and be like, okay, this is our new home to, and that's where the blood, the red and white blood cells are created, as well as, now they say, in the lungs. So there was this big exploration not too long ago where they found that many of the pre-blood white blood cells mostly were actually made in the lungs. So I think that that is fascinating, going into this process of embryonic breathing to connect the marrow and the immune system, the blood, the white and red blood cells, to the lungs as an immune system nursery, versus will or effort or breathe in. So this is like the nursery, the place where white blood cells start. So the question, like, we don't just think going there, we move ourselves, we express it, we play with the idea, but we play with our body, and we treat it differently if we know there are immune cells growing than if we think, oh, it's just breath. I don't know. I'm going to stop there. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. Maybe just put in the chat if you're interested in joining me for 3 more times of the practice. Just write in the chat yes, and they'll give us a sense if we even should do it. Yeah, just maybe everyone that wants to can show their face, and maybe we can, and even unmute everyone, Novi, and we can all just hear a voice and say hi. Oh, Sochi, Elena.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, it's so good to hear you.
Hello.
Eva. Just a loud one.
Hi. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, have a good
See
day.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.